Welcome, Clasher! It's time to build your first deck. If you've been watching some of the amazing gameplay of the Clash Royale North American Open, you know there's tons of different kinds of decks. From Expo decks, to giant poison decks, to goblin barrels. But if you're a beginner Clasher who's either just started playing, is in an early arena, or just wanted to get back to the basics, it's important to understand not just what decks exist, but how to build a deck for yourself. For your first deck, let's grab a few cards that you'll have right out of the training camp going into Arena 1. All of these cards are great and stay useful for your whole time as a Clasher, so they're great to use for your first deck. For your first deck, we're going to build a beatdown deck. Beatdown decks are used just how they sound. You want to beat down your opponent and destroy their towers at all costs, even if you suffer a ton of damage yourself. Beatdown decks combine several strong units to create a devastating push. All decks have weaknesses, and beatdown decks are no different. The good news is that players in early arenas don't yet know how to handle this kind of aggression, so you'll quickly rack up a lot of early wins. Enough talk, let's build our first deck. For our beatdown deck, we're going to grab the Mighty Giant. Giants are great for destroying towers because they only attack buildings. That means they won't be distracted by any enemy units on their way to the enemy tower. Perfect for a beatdown deck. Our giant has a ton of health, but if he goes in alone, he will quickly get overwhelmed by the enemy's defenses. To help him survive, we're going to put some high damage cards in our deck that can attack from behind the giant as he moves down the lane. Let's pick the rest of our cards to support our giant, since he's going to be doing all the damage and taking down those towers. First, let's add Musketeer. She's a long-range damage dealer who can hit air and ground units. Next, let's go with Archers. Archers are a pair of ranged damage dealers like Musketeer, but come in pairs and are both about half as strong as a Musketeer unless they attack together. For your first deck, you're going to put your long-range support cards behind your giant before he crosses the river, so that they can hide behind him and do damage to enemies safely. The giant will take the hit for them, and oftentimes, the Musketeer and Archers can even help finish off the enemy tower. But what if your opponent attacks you? You could use your giant to block your tower in a pinch, but you'd rather save him for a big push, beatdown style. And your other cards are too fragile to survive most attacks on their own. That's why we're going to add a few tanky cards, cards that are hard to kill and are great on defense. First, let's add the Knight. The Knight's a tanky card that attacks one person right next to him. He's our go-to all-purpose defender. Next, we'll add Valkyrie. Valkyrie is great because she has a lot of health and spins around, killing everything around her. If your enemy attacks with a swarm of weaker units, Valkyrie's spin will wipe them out. When you defend, you want to drop your tanky defenders near the middle of the arena so that they'll pull the enemy away from your tower. This slows the enemy down and makes it so both towers can hit them. Let's talk about a more advanced unit. I think you're ready. We're going to add the Bomber to your deck. Giants are big and slow, and your damage-dealing Archers or Musketeers can only hit one enemy at a time. That means if you get surrounded by a swarm of units, you'll be in big trouble. That's where the Bomber comes in handy. Put the Bomber behind your giant just like you would Archers or Musketeers. Now, if an enemy swarm attacks, the explosive damage from the Bomber's attacks will easily wipe out low health units as long as they're on the ground. You've already got all the tools you need to crunch your enemies, but we've got 2 slots left. That's the perfect place to add a couple of spells. Spells are amazing because you can play them anywhere in the arena, not just on your side. This means you can quickly react and change the tide of battle. For our first spell, we'll use Arrows. Arrows are great for attacking or defending against enemy troops. Arrows are perfect for clearing out weaker enemies anywhere on the map. Next, we'll add Fireball. Fireball is a really strong card, stronger than Arrows, but harder to aim. Use Fireball for offense or defense when enemy troops are clumped closely together, or for a last-minute save on your tower. Combined with your giant and a few supporting cards, a spell can be the key to protect your giant and allow him to damage the enemy tower. But never use a spell on the towers, they're way better at killing enemy units. Only use a spell to finish off a tower that's barely alive. The great thing about this deck is we have options to deal with air units. Some new deck builders forget that their cards can't always attack units in the air. We have both musketeers and archers that will be able to protect you against air units. Additionally, both of our spells can hit both air and ground units. Now that our deck is assembled, let's double check our average elixir cost. Elixir is the purple stuff you need to play cards. The more elixir a card uses up, the longer it will take to play more cards while you wait for your elixir to come back. For this deck, our average elixir cost is 3.6. If your deck is more than 4 average elixir, it's pretty expensive, and you'll probably find yourself sitting in a lot of games just waiting for elixir to come back so you can play your expensive cards again. If your average is 3 or less, your deck is cheap, and you'll be able to play cards almost without any pausing, but they might not be strong enough to make a dent in the enemy. 3.6 is just right for your deck. Great work! Go claim some crowns with your first deck, the beginning of your path to tournament glory. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more great Clash Royale videos. For more videos, check out youtube.com/Clash Royale.